Mr. Manny Wolfe, my friend, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you back for season 3 of the Quantum Creative Podcast. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing so good. It's so good to be here. And all the usual hyperbole aside, I've really been excited about this.
Cool. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah,
we follow each other on social media. We chat on social media occasionally, but there's nothing like the face-to-face discussion, is there really? Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah. That's where it all happens, man. That's where we upset some things.
Exactly. And where the magic happens. And you know, look, since we last spoke, I mean, we spoke around about this time. I think it was at the end of December, actually, beginning of January last time. So that would be, pre-world lockdown. And we weren't really focused on what was going on around the world with the virus and whatnot. Right. I don't want to get in, this isn't the forum for that. What's going on is going on. And, hopefully that will sort itself out at some point. But who would have thought in 1 year how upside down things could turn? And it just shows you how we've got to be on our guard at all times, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I've never felt like the hard work that I did and that I know you've done in the past has paid more dividends than through the challenges of 2020, right?
Yeah.
Like the internal stuff, the stuff where it's like, can you keep a positive disposition? Can you, 2020 was the year where it was like all of that development work, all of that personal work was really put to the test.
It was. And it's still being put to the test.
And it's still being put to the test. Yeah. So yeah, for me, that was it's like training in the dojo for years and years and years. And then finally getting into a street fight and realizing, okay, stuff works in real life too,
And I guess in a way, I as you know, I do a video every morning, which I call Morning Musings, where I give little sound bites and lessons, and I was writing one today, funnily enough, doing my bullet points for tomorrow and talking about this fear of failure we've got.
Yeah.
And it's in those dark times, for want of a better phrase, in those challenges that we grow, that we develop, and that serve us so very well when we face times like these. And yet people are so nervous or scared or afraid to head towards that darkness.
Yeah, man, Paul, we have a completely, generally speaking, a completely wrong map of how we're supposed to engage with life, as far as I'm concerned. It's like what was the example in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? I think it was Stephen Covey says, imagine if you've got a map of Chicago, but you're trying to drive through Baltimore.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you ask or what you do. Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you believe in the, you know what I mean? How much positivity you put into
how many affirmations you run. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not that they are valuable. Thinking positively, affirmations. There's a place and a time for it all.
Yeah.
But it has to be in the right context, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we were never supposed to sort of shy away from adversity.
No.
I mean, I know that we have all that. I don't really know if this is sort of on brand for your audience. I imagine it is, but I know we have all these heuristics, right? We tend toward trying to create comfort, safety, et cetera, et cetera. But human beings are a testament to living on the fucking edge and surviving. You know what I mean? It's like, so 2020 is a challenge and it's bad and it's whatever. But look, man, I was raised, my life has been one epoch of disaster after another, as far as I could tell. The world, not just me, but society, humanity has been, remember the doomsday clock? Remember the Cold War and the arms race?
Yeah.
Just to pick a couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, history's resplendent with them, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet here we are. We're still going. We're still moving forward, right? Or trying to as best we can.
Yeah, that's always the tack I take. That's always the vantage point I try to look at things from. Is it's you don't, what is it? There's a saying that goes, like a horse in the stable doesn't get its feet muddy, but that's a racehorse in the stable doesn't get its feet dirty, but that's not what a racehorse is for, or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess the pearl of wisdom is get off your butt and test yourself and be resilient. You know what I mean? Put yourself in the game, put yourself in the field of play.
I think it was Abraham Maslow, you know, the renowned psychologist, who said something along the lines of, you know, one's own real failure is failure to try. Yeah. You know, if you're trying, you're succeeding. Yeah. Right. Because everything that happens to you, whether you get good results or bad results, is just a perspective, and it's feedback. Right. It's there to guide you. You know, 100%. Like if you're flying a plane from, you know, I know you're in California. So if you're flying from California, let's say LA to New York, and, you know, your computer on board tells you you're off course, you make the adjustments to get back on course, right? Right. You haven't failed. Yeah. You're just using feedback mechanisms, right? Right. Exactly. And that's where I think people get all caught up about it. And I know that this is why I love you so much. I know that you really, really, really have the bit between your teeth here with this, because of the duplicitous nature of what people are being told in internet, online coaching, in you know, offline coaching programs, in marketing, in, you know, copy and stuff like that. There's a whole raft of this sort of undercurrent of dishonesty that's running through it. And I know that's where you're focusing right now and what you're passionate about. So what are your thoughts around all that? I mean, we could go off here anywhere, but let's get the ball rolling. Yeah, absolutely, man. Just like the quick little sort of entree into how I wound up doing this work in the first place. I did not set out to do this. Right. And I love telling that little story or vignette. I set out to be like a men's coach. Yeah. I thought that based on my life and the things I had dealt with and overcome, and based on the book I wrote about my life, I thought that was a perfect sort of positioning tool to be a men's coach. And then I came into the space and I thought I'd start a podcast to grow an audience. After I learned that you had to grow an audience, I'm still from the old school. I thought you wrote a book and then you submitted the manuscript until somebody approved it. You know? Like in the Woody Allen movies. Yeah. We're showing our age now, man. You need to be very careful about that.
Yeah, right. So I started this podcast, and the goal of the podcast was to illustrate the struggles and successes of people from all walks of life. And it had all this nobility to it. And nobody fucking cared at all.
Interesting. Right.
They're like, hey, that's great. Yeah, whatever. And I'd start getting
which is like chewing your nails. Like, but look what I've done. I've poured everything into this.
100%. And so then I'd start getting these messages from people saying, can you teach me how to sound like you do on the microphone? Just the most random thing, right?
Okay, interesting.
So I said yes. And I quickly cobbled together from past experience some vocal trainings, and that led to a lot of public speakers being interested in what I did. Right. So I had previous experience with acting, with public speaking, and with musical performance. So a lot of hours on stage. So I said, I could probably teach public speakers how to be better. Yeah. Right. So I cobbled together a method for that. And that led to this, and this led to that. But the whole time, I'm not really making the connection that it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. It matters how good your marketing is.
Right.
Right. There's no level of you're so good at what you do that the market just opens its doors for you. It doesn't exist. And that was a bitter pill to swallow. And so, like a lot of us do, I ran from this download to that webinar, to this cheat sheet, to this, basically this person, with their manipulative marketing over to this person with their manipulative marketing. That's what I did. And so I just got it was just one ridiculous value stack after another, and one ridiculous nurture sequence after another. And as I started to make a little bit of money, I actually paid. It's not an exaggeration to say that, in fact, in 2019, I was in a mastermind that cost the same as the down payment on a good house. You know what I mean? It costs as much as a car. Right. and what did I get out of it? I mean, it was okay. It was all right. you know, but I've been in other programs that cost the same that weren't okay, that weren't all right. And so little by little, I really started to sort of develop this, like coalesce this position about this kind of, you know, all the manipulation and duplicity and outright con in a lot of cases. Let's be honest here, in marketing and in the coaching space. And so now that's the thing that I stand against. That's like, I'm up on the mountaintop. I'm the guy with the, you know, the rifle with the scope on it and the flag. And I'm like, no, this is bullshit.
Right.
This has to stop, because I'm not the only one who came into this space desperately needing help, but not having thousands of dollars to spend on it.
Yeah.
You know,
this is a huge issue, right? This is a real issue. I mean, because let's be honest, you know, in any industry that you choose to be in, you don't even have to go and get qualifications certified to, as you say, plant your flag and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how much I charge, let's go. Right. And there's a lot of people trying to earn a quick buck using the power of the internet, using the power of their social reach, just to try and make money. And, you know, you and I both know that it's kind of arse about face, right? That it's just not the way that it works.
Yeah. And there's a delicate dance there, because I'm not ever going to judge you for having what it takes to jump in and try a new thing.
No.
So, right, that's the one side. The other side is there's such a phenomenal level of integrity that should be present and is energetically, at least, that is required when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You got to resist the you know, the whole sort of stereotype, right, of the rented fancy car and the pictures in front of the big house and all that sort of Instagram, Facebook, laptop lifestyle stuff, that guruism.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution is, other than, like, I'm taking a stand against it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's too big, and there are too many people that have really mastered the marketing without the deliverables. And that's where people get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it bears saying here that, like, people really get hurt by that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and
especially with the costs of some of these programs as well.
Because, I mean, primarily, I think because of the cost, right?
Yeah.
You got this slick nurture sequence and this slick veneer and this slick presentation. And then, like, there's two really big outfits that I could name right now. One of them promises you that you'll get clients as you need them. I'm paraphrasing here deliberately, you know.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yeah.
So yeah. Please do paraphrase away.
Yeah, and I happen to have met and become colleagues, I guess, with probably 4 or 5 people now who used to work for that outfit.
Right.
Who are like, it's nothing behind the scenes. It's nothing like the presentation.
Okay.
You know, their success, their level of success is like 12%. When they're charging $12,000 to teach you this thing.
Right.
It's a webinar system. They teach you a webinar system. It's like $12,000. It's probably gone up since then.
Yeah.
And one guy I know, who shall remain utterly nameless, I will not bust him out. He told me point blank, he said, I almost got sued by the guy who owns that company because I threatened to go public with their ridiculously low result rates.
Right.
And he clamped me with their, you know, basically a restraining order. And then there's the other company I was just joking about with you before we hit record. Right now, as I'm having this interview with you, they're running 2 simultaneous ads promising the same thing, claiming different numbers of clients they've served. It's like right in your face. And it's one in your news feed, and then an hour later, the other.
Yeah.
It just, I mean,
it's beyond. Just a few short years ago, you wouldn't have got away with that.
Right.
But it's changed now. People are almost just purposely being outrageously dishonest.
It feels like that.
Yeah, knowing that, and I may be speaking out of order, and if so, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's almost as if they know that they'll get enough clients, they'll earn enough money to circumvent all the negativity that comes from people who say, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is a clear indication of what their priority is.
Yeah.
And their priority cannot possibly be helping you if they're lying to you right up front.
Right in front of your face. Yeah, absolutely.
Right in front of your face like that.
Yeah.
I happened upon, it's like I'm a magnet for these behind the scenes stories now.
Right. Okay.
I happened upon another story of a fella who is really, really big in the sort of, what would you say, like the law of attraction meets personal improvement, the sort of new age business place. And, I always had a bad feeling instantly about the guy. And that's because I was born in a cult, and I know what a Svengali looks like. Yeah. I know what the manipulative, charismatic figure looks like. And so from Jump Street, I was like, okay, that guy creeps me out. Never realizing he was as successful as he was and had such a huge following as he did. Okay. I happened to just come across and meet another guy, and again, no names here, who I really liked. This guy is legit. He's authentic. And then I discovered that these two are partnered up.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, okay. Like that, did that slip by my radar? It turns out that I wind up befriending the other guy. And boy, we are dishing dirt here. And he says, yeah, I was just in this partnership, this expensive mastermind with person X. And right in the middle of it, he just tells me, I feel like my energy is best served elsewhere, and just bails on the whole thing and leaves the one guy, hanging with thousands and thousands of dollars of monthly debt to support this mastermind.
Right.
So like, it's, I don't know, man. It's like the wild, wild west. There's no repercussions. There's no ramifications. There's no, coaching police.
Do you look? If people who are new to this podcast or haven't seen your episode from season 2, and I suggest you go and see it, because Manny goes deep into his background. He's growing up in the cult and following on from that. Do you consider that it's that quick fix society, right? It's that instant gratification society, and this is what's causing the problem, that people no longer have to pay their dues. Right. You can qualify extremely quickly if you choose to. You can market to the world immediately. You've got a huge, prospective audience, where a global audience, where just 10 years ago you wouldn't have had that many. And it means that people aren't paying their dues. They're not learning in stages. They're not going through A, B, C, D. They're just going A, Z, boom, let's go. Yeah. And is that causing the problem that we're facing here?
That's part of it, Paul. I think it's a very nuanced problem. You and I have probably heard many of those sort of like the two sides of the results problem as an example, right? And coaches tend to say, or at least think, that lack of results is the client's fault. It's a general tendency. Doesn't apply to all of us. Clients tend to think lack of results is the coach's issue. And I like to poke fun at that a lot. I like to really poke the bear with that. But honestly, it's such a multifaceted thing. You've got coaching organizations who are sales organizations in disguise, like the ones we've been talking about. And they're, what they are is they are really good at running ads and marketing and that kind of stuff. And who knows how good their products are, I never hear success stories. That's the thing that's odd to me, but I always hear the complaints. Yeah. So there's that. But then there's also a real phenomenon that a lot of people don't know it, but don't want anything more than the massive dopamine hit of laying down a few $1,000. and so that goes on the client side of things. And then there's all the intricacies of like, how do you create engagement with online teaching? And like, it's a very, very complex issue.
Of course.
And so I guess here's what I think. I think, first of all, social media is still in its infancy, even though
definitely
Facebook has been around for what, 12 years now?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
This is a language we're all still learning to speak, and we have not mastered it yet.
No.
And when I say language, I also mean the sort of the norms, the sort of prescribed, agreed upon ethics, all of these things, right? Of how do we behave in this sort of consequence-free, environment. And you see like keyboard warriors and trolls, and they're a good example of how we don't know what we're doing yet. And I would say this to you about that. Most of these people who are bold enough to troll other people on social media obviously have never come from a time and place where you could get punched in the mouth for the things you say.
Exactly. I was going to mention that very thing. There's a few people saying a few things that they have never been punched in the mouth for before, right?
Yeah, you've obviously never had to be accountable with your ass for what your mouth did.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. 100%. Maybe there should be a virtual sort of slap across the face. I don't know how that would work, but
and that's weird too, because now like Facebook would probably bot block you for trying to stand up for yourself. So, but the whole thing, whether or not, the Zuckerbergs and the Dorseys are nefarious or not, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd like it to be that easy. I'd like to just be able to say that, take the easy way out and say, Zuckerberg's a crook and he's trying to do this and that and the other thing. The level of things that he has to factor into his decisions is probably staggering.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so.
And so, but all of that comes back down to what we were talking about in the very beginning, which is like, you have to take responsibility, man, for your own self.
I think so.
At the risk of,
do you think people are very quick to abdicate responsibility? This is a biggie. Yes. This is a biggie. When I talk to clients and people, the first thing I talk about is, okay, you want to change your life. You want this. You want that. You want that. Right. What are you actually responsible for here? And what are you abdicating responsibility in?
Yeah. 100%, man. And for those of you listening, it's uncomfortable to take responsibility,
Really is.
But there's good news too. Paul, what do you think about this? I say that once you've done it enough, right, it just becomes part of who you are, and it isn't so jarring.
Yeah.
I
think
it's
you're
like
right.
That idea. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Go on. No, finish off, because I think you're well on track there.
Yeah. It's like how in the beginning, all of our meaningful insights and life lessons come from pain.
Yeah.
But you can get to a point, not everybody does, but you can get to a point where you go, the pain sucks, but the insight is valuable. Yeah. So you start proactively looking for insight.
I think
you sort of hit a different level where it's like you can learn important things without having to like get your teeth knocked in.
Yeah. And I think you understand, you very, well, not necessarily quickly, but you soon understand the difference between pain and suffering, right? This thing that you take the responsibility, you go through the pain that the lesson may have wrapped around with it, but you understand that it's extremely temporary, that it's serving a purpose, it's helping you grow and expand, because, that stress, that friction, that resistance, think about training in a gym. If you're trying to build biceps, you've got to stress through them. You train for resistance, right? So it does help you grow emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and so on and so forth. And I think that you understand that actually it's only when I dwell on it, it's only when I keep repeating it, it's only when I don't take the responsibility for it that I suffer. And I think that that's the quantum shift. See what I did there?
100% see what you did there.
See what I did there? It's that quantum shift that really, really makes the difference and really transforms someone's necessarily transforms their life, because there's a lot more to it than that, but transforms the way they look at their life. And that's an important starting point.
What it does is it gives you that key, that button, whatever you want to call it, that allows you to transform your life.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's the thing. It's the secret handshake.
Yeah.
It's the nod and the wink that gets you past the red velvet rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something
100%.
we all go through. I think people also believe that, it's so easy for you. You don't suffer. You're so positive. But, the reason that I don't seem to suffer, the reason I seem to be so positive, because I've gone through all that shit.
Yeah.
I've dealt with all that, and I continue to do so.
Yeah.
Always running that program, filtering through that and taking the responsibility where I'm abdicating it previously.
That's exactly right. Always running it through those filters, or at least that's exactly the way I think of it. I mean, exactly. It's like, you got to have these filters in place. You got to check yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just think that is exactly right. And it's so fascinating to me too, that to watch how most people figuratively confuse the windshield for the vista behind it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
It's like,
they're rather than being, and they've even got someone there showing them the window, and what they're actually doing is showing them the vista beyond the window.
Yeah.
But the people look at the window, look at the person showing the window, and it goes back to what you said about the Svengali earlier. Then they revere the Svengali who's showing them the window, but the vista behind the window. So they celebrate the window, follow the Svengali showing the window, but miss the vista and miss the whole point of it.
That's the part that becomes so challenging to create the shift for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because really, I think what you have to do is you got to figure out a way to deconstruct like a whole subconscious worldview, a whole subconscious way of choosing to be in the world that you don't even fucking know you're doing.
No. Exactly. Yeah, it's a difficult one. That isn't it? We're only about 5% conscious during the day. 95% subconscious programs running us most of the time.
Just automatic stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting how this ties into the world of marketing and coaching and all that stuff too, right? Because we all like to call ourselves entrepreneurs. And look, if you just coach people online and you want to call yourself an entrepreneur, that's cool. That's fine. Strictly speaking, from the classical definition, you're not yet an entrepreneur, but that's okay. I got love for you anyway. It takes a certain something to be willing to even hang your shingle. But the thing that most 100%. People don't understand, in my opinion, is that what it takes, what you're signing up for, is, especially if you're a true entrepreneur, but even if you're just an online coach and you're going through learning marketing, what you're signing up for is to come face to face with all of your blind spots, all of your challenges, all of your shortcomings, everything that has kept you where you are. Because the version of you that gets to, let's just use money examples, 50,000, 100,000 a month level of success is not the version of you are today.
No.
This version can only deconstruct itself and rebuild itself to get to the next version. I love that example in the Marvel comics or the movies when they face Ultron, and Ultron is constantly building better versions of himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the perfect analogy. Yeah. You can't do it, but you can build the version of you that can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost I'm going to talk to you about Marvel in a minute, right?
I'm all in.
I know you're all in for that, right? But because it's something specific I want to ask. But it's funny you say that because, oh God, I can't think where I was going with this. It's that Einstein quote. You can't solve a problem with the same level of mind that created it. And he was talking about exactly that, right? That, we know that because of the law of polarity, that there cannot be an obstacle without a way round. There can't be a question without an answer. There can't be a problem without a solution. But when we're in that problem, when we see that problem, we're at one level of mind. We don't necessarily see the answer to it. Right. So we have to look at a different way of growing around it so that then we can see the solution. Because if we look back in our past at problems we had, We see how simple they are because we've grown, hopefully.
Yeah.
We've grown now. Yeah. So I think that's absolutely right. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So Mark, okay. So we're going to indulge ourselves now, Manny and I, because I know a little birdie tells me, and in fact we've had this conversation, that we are both watching the latest Disney Plus series, Wanda Vision.
Oh God, yes. Yes.
Now, for full reference, I haven't seen episode 4 yet because it doesn't come out in the UK till tomorrow.
Same here, I think. We're not at Friday yet, are we?
No. Okay, cool. So we're not going to spoil it for one another. However, isn't it the most nuanced writing of a superhero script you've ever seen?
It is that and more, as far as I'm concerned. There is, to me, there's an element of like Japanese calligraphy to it. And here's what I mean. On the surface, it seems so simple.
Yeah.
It is so, like, I get why so many of our friends who are intelligent are watching it and then reporting back on social media. I don't know. It just seems sort of, I understand why you think.
It's yeah.
But like, to really wrap your head around how every single detail is relevant.
Yeah.
Everything was chosen on a level that, I mean, everything is chosen for the most part in any good filmmaking, but not like this. Like they're giving little clues and Easter eggs and stuff for this whole next phase that they're launching.
Exactly.
All in this one half hour.
In this one, yeah. See now, the reason I wanted to bring this up, right, because there is a real lesson in here for us as entrepreneurs, as coaches, as marketers, or as human beings. In that every single detail in these episodes that are being shown currently, right? Although they may look throwaway, everything is relevant. Everything means something.
Yeah.
And when we understand that in our own lives, when we are able to bring that to our own party, so to speak, boy, does things get exciting.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Speaking specifically of the program, we're talking about Wanda Vision for anybody. Did we say that yet?
I don't know if we may have said that. Yeah, the new Marvel series. Yeah, Wanda Vision on Disney Plus.
That is, I don't think I've seen anything like that, with the exception of the odd film that comes out maybe once every 5 to 7 years, where, like, I think of movies like Donnie Darko and Being John Malkovich,
right?
These sort of artistic masterpieces that are like Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah. They're very nuanced, very layered, that you have to watch 3 or 4 times to really.
Yeah, exactly.
Royal Tenenbaums is another one that
Royal Tenenbaums. Yeah. Anything by Wes Anderson, really.
Of course.
He's one of my heroes. But it's just like, whew. we're just stunned by it over here in my house.
Right.
We're all Marvel fans and just blown away by what they're doing. I mean, just the ambition, the concept, the whimsy, the darkness, the detail, the specificity, the way that they're creating all of these different potential outcomes. And I cannot wait to see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah, I know. And the way I love it is that every week there's just that little bit more.
Yeah.
There's just that little bit more revealed, that little bit more of an undercurrent you see, that little crack in what's going on. And I think that the writers, I don't know how many wrote it, I don't know who they are really, but they must have had an absolute blast sitting down in their meetings coming up with this story.
There must have been so much brainstorming at the writer's table and so much creativity.
Woo. Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. And we can bring that, maybe not that level of artistry because it may not be our forte, but we can certainly bring some of these lessons into our lives. These lessons are resplendent throughout everything, should we choose to look for them. I'll give you another example that I know that you're quite keen on, the Tao Te Ching. We've had many conversations about our homeboy Lao Tzu, a 2,500-year-old philosophy that, you could take into a ballroom today and sit down and say, right, this is how we're going to run this business. And I tell you what, it would run very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And the same level of like apparent simplicity with endless depth underneath it,
Yeah. Do you know, I did a guest appearance on someone's tribe the other day, and I spoke about James Allen and he's wonderful as a man thinketh. And what strikes me about that, and this is when you know that you've got someone that really knows what they're delivering, that really knows the layered lessons behind everything. You know, that every sentence that they write, talking about Wanda Vision, you know, James Allen's book, every sentence is deliberate. There's no filler, which is why it's a short book, I guess. And I left everyone with this. I said, you know, this is a book that you can read in an hour, right? If you sit down quietly and go through it and pay attention, you're done in an hour maximum. But you can study it forever because you could take one sentence, right? And then, you know, you could play with it for a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is that nuanced. And I think that, you know, people need to get away from this, you know, and we'll use books as an example. I'm going to read this book, bang, done. I'm going to read this book, bang, done. I'm going to read this book.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, pick a book, study it, get familiar with it, go deep in it, incorporate it into your life, become it, and then see what happens, you know?
For my own sort of approach to that kind of stuff, what I do is like what I did with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the other ones I did this with was the E-Myth.
Oh, yeah. Michael Gerber, right? Yeah.
Wow, just
great book.
Christ, what a staggering work that was.
Right. Okay.
But so I would take if it resonated with me and it was like, this is worth going into. I went through 7 Habits back when we had compact disc players in our car.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So 10 years ago or whatever it was, 12, 15. And it was the only set of discs I played in my car for, I'm going to say 2 years.
Wow.
Just over and over and over again, knowing you're never going to get all this, the first pass, the second pass, the 10th pass.
No way. No.
And so I was just downloading it into my psyche over and over again.
See, it's that thing again, Manny, you know, you were prepared to play the long game.
Yeah.
You were prepared to play the long game with this study, with this improvement, this self-improvement, this self-development, what you want to call it, because you knew that although it was quite painful to keep going over and over and over and over it again, and quite tedious at times, because sometimes when we read something again and again, we do get into that state of mind. But ultimately, look at what's happened. You know, you've gone through great growth, great change, great income, etc., etc. You have to play the long game.
I couldn't agree more. And if we're, you know, that is a great segue back to the marketing topic, right? If nothing else, don't think for a second that there's really some kind of an easy button or silver bullet to creating marketing that works for yourself.
Exactly.
You're only inviting pain and quite possibly financial challenges, you know. Which, it's a real thing. And I like to say anybody who tries to tell you it's easy is trying to sell you something.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I spend my days telling people that, you know, the journey to freedom, the journey to abundance, the journey to happiness, the journey to health, wherever you want to go, is the hardest journey you're going to make, because you don't have it now. So everything's going to have to change.
Yeah. And, you know, the good news is you can arrive at a state of mind that finds those challenges pleasant and rewarding. Yeah. You know, and gratifying and meaningful.
Exactly.
I would far rather have a life that felt meaningful than a life full of sort of like, you know, abject happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I saw a quote today, and I added to the quote. It was I can't remember what the quote was, but I added to it. It was about, you know, finding your. The quote was don't attach to things, something along those lines, you know, something abstract like that. But I just added to it, don't be possessed. Enjoy, but don't be possessed by your possessions. Yeah. You know, find your meaning in other things, and then just enjoy the trinkets as and when they come. I think that that's going to save a lot of people and open up a lot of freedoms for most.
Yeah, that's such a more sustainable way to approach these things.
Definitely.
These challenges of life.
Manny, I'm mindful of the time you spent with me, and I'm so grateful for it. I know you're a very busy guy, and we are going to have to do this again because there's still so much that we can say and so many avenues we can go, and we've got a whole Marvel back catalogue to get through at some point. But is there anything else that you think that you feel that you need to get off your chest or say to the audience today?
Well, I feel like since I'm given the opportunity here to speak to an audience, what I would say to you guys is, for me, the culmination so far of everything that I stand against and stand for has been actually putting my money where my mouth is. And so a shameless plug is coming up. Yeah. I took the same program that I felt like I was sort of forced to learn how to get clients, because I had spent so much money and got such dismal results that I figured it out. And I used to sell that program for $5,000. And I had a sort of a come to Jesus moment of my own, which like, you can't stand against this top heavy, high ticket sort of rock star guru marketing culture and still have your only thing you sell be $5,000. It felt a little off for me. And so what I've done is I've sort of flipped the script around and made that same program a membership program at $67 a month. So now the impetus is on me. If I want to make good money, I've got to fill the membership program rather than sell 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, spots a month. And so, I guess if anything, if I was going to use this as an opportunity to let your audience know what I'm doing, I'd say that's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And if you want good, solid strategies for getting clients, particularly from Facebook, but social media in general, and you think it's kind of crazy to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for something that you don't have any real guarantee on, I've got what you need. And to that end, if you want to share a link, Paul, then I've got a training I call the 9 pillars of explosive audience growth. It's 100% free. It's meant to lead you through and earn your trust so that you consider working with me. Total transparency there as well. But even if you were to just take it and implement it, you could get in front of 100,000 people in a month easily.
Okay. Well, so that's fabulous, Manny. Thank you so much for that. And I'll link that, and I'll link. Is it the client creation method? The website.
The website is. Let's see. What's the best way to do that? I'll send you the link to my group.
They do that.
Facebook group is the best.
I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people can see that. That will be great. Well, Manny, look, thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight. I know you well. I have to let everyone know also, for full transparency, that I trust Manny implicitly, and I'm more than happy to allow him to plug his product here, because I know how effective it is. So please go and have a look at that if that's something you're interested in, and he certainly does deliver. So you have no worries there. And thank you so much for joining me once again on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and so good to speak to you again.
Likewise. The pleasure is all mine, and I will come back anytime.
Yes, brilliant. Thanks, man. Right, you take care.